Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About Houses. I'm Todd.
I'm Juana.
Okay, so today we're going to do an update to the Las Vegas real estate market for condos. We've been doing these weekly. So we're going to start with the market action index. It's 41, slight seller's advantage. It was 39 a month ago. It has been sort of less volatile than housing. We're going to go through some of the numbers and talk about this. Why is the condo market less volatile than single family homes?
So that's a great question. So it's less volatile because the pricing is more compact, right?
Okay.
So between the bottom of the pricing market and the top of the pricing market, there's not as much room. So that makes the market more stable.
Okay, so let's do it. We're going to go through some of the numbers in here.
Okay.
And we'll just jump over to the real-time market profile, which is on the other side here. When you look, the first probably 5 or 6 things on this all are just going sideways, right? Median list price, median price of new listings, price per square foot, average days on the market are just kind of moving. They're not trending either way. They're just kind of ticking up and down. What you don't realize is all of these, especially median list price, price per square foot, median list price of new listings, all these. That looks like a big amount, but because it's such a narrow band, it's actually just like dollars moving around. It's not very much, okay? Now, imagine this. You have a pool of houses that you're going to reevaluate in a year and determine what they sold for. And the houses could be $300,000 houses. They could be $800,000 houses. They could be $5 million houses, right? Mm-hmm. Now you take a pool of condos. What kind of price ranges are you going to see for the condos for the most part?
Somewhere between maybe 190 and maybe 430.
And that's like probably almost all of them. That's
right.
Probably 90% of all condos.
Right.
So when you take a little narrow gap and you have a bunch of sales, and then you measure a week, a month, a year later, you basically have sales in the same price range. Mm-hmm. So when you get that median number, it doesn't change very much, right?
Right.
Okay, now let's look at houses for a second. You have a bunch of houses, and you have $300,000 houses selling, you have $800,000 houses selling, and you have $1 million houses selling, right? Now, let's say the home prices per square foot don't change very much.
Right.
But you take out a bunch of the high-end sales, and they don't happen the next year. Mm-hmm. What happens when you go to measure the median home price of sales the next year? What does that look like?
It's going to be dramatically lower because you've kicked out the high end. But if you're looking at the price per square foot, that's going to be a much more realistic picture of what's happening in the market because now you're comparing like for like. Okay,
we're gonna go through some of the things here. And then we'll talk about something I found out that was very interesting. Okay, this is the market action index for condos. And the most interesting thing about this is you can see that the condos want to be between a 40 and a 60 or for like market action index. That's kind of the sweet spot. And this is this thing that's just an amalgamation of a bunch of data, right? Mm-hmm. You can see the condo market get hot because and the main reason it got hot was days on market went to literally almost zero. Remember that? Mm-hmm. We were doing these videos like a year or two ago. The days on the market were zero, meaning half the homes were selling on the day they hit the market.
Right, because they would hit the market in coming soon, so the clock wasn't ticking yet. Right. So by the time they actually came on the market, they had an accepted offer.
Right, so days on market was zero. Mm-hmm. Now we have days on the market, so that's brought the market action index back to a reasonable level, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll go to but you can see it's trending up. Mm-hmm. It's sort of gaining some strength. Now that's not prices. That's just the measure of how sort of hot the market is.
Right. So it's a measure of the market activity rather than price increases.
And 41 is still a slight seller's advantage.
Yes.
The sellers still have a slight advantage in that market. Now this is price per square foot. Now, if you also notice this looks very steadily increasing. We did have the spike where it increased and has adjusted, mm-hmm. like we said it would back in last year. But if you look at the little tick, the little triangle that is the 90-day average last year, you can see it's up still. Mm-hmm. Year over year, condo prices in Las Vegas are higher than they were a year ago today. Now, it's likely that in 2 or 3 months, depending on what the prices are, they could be down small amount, price per square foot because of the peak of the froth where people bought it at a super high price, right?
Right.
Right. Okay. All in all, though, why doesn't that matter that much?
Look, this is a really stable market, and you've got a really narrow band, so there's not going to be a lot of movement.
Okay. Median list price here you can see is basically has not done much. It the last say year or so, it's substantially up, as you can see. If you go back and look at the last 5 years, those little diamonds, you can see every year they ticked up. It looks like the last year was the biggest one. It looks like median list price is up about $25,000. Even from the peak, we're about at where we were at the peak. Now, this is very interesting. When people go peak to trough, and blah, blah, blah. But then you look at condos and you realize there really is no peak to trough. That's the normal seasonable change. You do have this seasonable change in real estate in Las Vegas, but even peak to trough, you don't really have a peak to trough. You have it declined a little bit, right?
Yeah, well, condo market tends to be much more stable. So stable in a market where there's volatility is good. Stable in an appreciating market, not so great, which is the reason why people start out with condos and then graduate, if you will, to single-family homes, because single-family homes traditionally see far greater appreciation than condos do.
Yeah, they tend to. And there's a few reasons for that. Obviously, financing is easier in single-family home. And why is it easier to sell your single-family home to somebody for financing versus a condo?
So not all condos are financing friendly.
Okay, why is that?
So that has to do with a lot of reasons. So one of them has to do with the owner occupancy ratio in the community. Another one has to do with the financial condition of the HOA. So not all HOA financial conditions are created equal. So some lenders don't want to finance in certain communities. So let me give you an example. We had this happen with one of our agents. He was representing a buyer, and this just happened like 2 weeks ago. He was representing a buyer, and it was a condo, and they got all the way to the finish line. They were waiting for underwriter approval, and the underwriter rejected the file. Did not reject the file because of the borrower, rejected the file because of the HOA. And on the HOA side, get this, the reason the underwriter rejected the HOA was because the HOA's insurance for dishonest employees was $750,000, and what the underwriter wanted was $1.5 million. Now, there's no way that a buyer can go to the HOA and say, hey, by the way, we need you to up that limit on your insurance for dishonest employees so I can get financing in your community. That's not going to happen. So in this case, the deal didn't go through because of the HOA, but this makes the point as to why condos are more difficult to finance and on the HOA side.
There was a point in Las Vegas when we were selling hundreds of houses a year that there were between 90 and 95% of all condo complexes in Las Vegas was not qualified for any type of financing.
Right.
It was cash purchases.
Right. And that was for two reasons. One, because of the owner occupancy, and two, because the HOAs were in financial trouble because of the foreclosures. They weren't getting paid because even though the banks were paying them off at closing, there were so many properties that were somewhere in the pipeline that they weren't getting enough money to make it work.
Okay, so we have prices. Closed price per square foot starting to creep up in condos. We have median list price, which hasn't done much in the last year. But we're watching this market index kind of climb, and we're trying to figure out why it is. Well, remember, there's a bunch of inputs to this, and a huge input to this is inventory. If you look at inventory, it's declining. In Las Vegas, you can see we are under 1,000 condos. Now remember, in Clark County, there's over 700. There's like 790,000 total residential units, includes apartment buildings and things like that. But when you have under 1,000 condos, that's an extremely low number of the market. So even if we only have 50 or 60,000 condos, we're talking 2%. So 1 in 50 condos on the market is nothing. It's literally nothing. At that rate, it's going to take, if it takes 6 months to sell a condo, that means these condos are coming on the market every 25 years, which is not the case. But I'm just pointing out that the inventory is extremely low, and it's not getting better right now. It's not increasing.
That's true.
Okay.
But I think we are going to see inventory increase as interest rates normalize, or I don't know what better word to use for that. But as interest rates come down, I think you will see more inventory come to market. So that's probably going to happen maybe late this year or sometime next year. And I think that will be a much better time as far as buyers are concerned to have more choices. And it'll be a good time for sellers to move around a little bit. A little shuffling. A little shuffling is good. It's good for realtors because every transaction we get paid on, we like it.
Yeah. Okay. Here's another slide. This is the market segment slide. And the interesting thing about this that I wanted to point out, if you look all the way over to the left, are the median prices of the top quarter, second, third, and bottom quarter of the market. You see 434, 305, 243, 194. Those are really close. Matter of fact, if you look at the bottom two, 194 to 243, there's only 50,000 separates literally half of the market, which is the bottom half of the market. That's the median of the bottom half of the market. Okay, and then you get the next higher level. There's only 60,000 more that gets that next 3/4 of the market. So you have 3/4 of the market really that's sort of probably 350 to in the 100s. And that's, you wouldn't see that much residential real estate in a $200,000 price band. Matter of fact, you would see that much real estate probably is in a $700,000 price band. And we know that that now that median price of the high end is, dropped below $1 million, now is shot above 1.1 million. So, and that's because that we're starting to see some sales in the higher end and more homes come on the market in the higher end.
Yep.
Right. So, sort of, I think we're going to see more volatility with single family homes. If there is potential for prices to drop, it's probably in single family homes. Condos are just way too sticky for price.
Right. Condos are much more stable. Like I said, they don't see much on the appreciation. They don't see much on price pullbacks. They're just kind of like a donkey. They're just kind of dogged. They just kind of plod along. Right.
The other thing too is remember when these numbers were being quoted for appreciation in Las Vegas, 44%. Condos didn't go up 44%. No. The median house didn't go up 44%. This idea that a home went up 44% and then lost 8% last year didn't happen. What happened was the mix of sales. If you take a market and throw in a ton of high-end sales and then you average that in, it looks like the whole market was higher. So it artificially says the market really appreciated. So when people say peak to trough and they talk about May of last year, there were a ton of higher-end properties that sold in the spring as people were locking in those rates and buying their dream house with it. The cash purchasers were in a frenzy because they didn't care about that, right? So you have this artificiality where home prices looked like they had peaked and dropped. They didn't do it. And somebody who'd quoted the Redfin data, which is not accurate, by the way, because it's just not accurate. Because we just showed the data that the bottom 3/4 of the homes were up year over year. It said, homes were down 8% according to Redfin. But if you read the thing, what it says that's the median sale price. That it says price per square foot, they were down 3%. 3%. That was the crash. The crash was 3%. It's literally nothing. You made more money if you bought a house. If you bought a house at the peak and rented it for a year, you made more than 3% in interest. I mean, in rents.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is the condo market update. What did you think? Did it surprise you? Did you learn something? Drop us a note and let us know. In the meantime, please like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share the video, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.